go.
Ulaanbaatar is a much more modern, cosmopolitan city than I had expected.
Not too much longer before we hit the more open road out toward the airport.
At this point, about half the population of Mongolia lives in Ulaanbaatar, and man, the other half seems to be moving here rapidly. It also has a serious nightlife that is, let's just say, not conducive to sleep at pretty much any hour of the night, as pretty much all of us can attest to this morning. Well, this is pretty cool. We're just out of the city and we're already into the good stuff. One of our guides, OG, is pointing out that we will likely come across many of these small sacred sites during our travels. Making 3 circles around them is considered to bring good fortune and a smooth passage, so believe me, we did. We can all use all the good fortune we can get on a trip like this.
Super cool.
The central part of the country that we're venturing into first is high steppe, so short grasses and low bushes, no shade, no protection from the wind, and winters that are just bitter cold, like 40 below.
Wow, 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 wow.
Super beautiful at this time of the year, though.
If this is us for the night, I wouldn't mind for that to be the case. I am knackered. Oh. I literally just walked into the door. Bloody hell.
All right, let's get after it. Day 2. I want one of those little things so bad. Do you think I could get it through customs?
Bit of tarmac today, in addition to some off-road at the beginning.
Man, this area looks for the world like southern Utah or northern Arizona. It looks like it's got some great, slightly more technical riding too. This is going to be awesome.
Well, this is cool.
In case you're wondering, there aren't a whole lot of restrictions on where you can drive or ride in Mongolia. Most places that would never work, and probably won't here as tourism increases. But for the moment, it actually seems okay.
Very, very cool.
Let me give you an example. We're into our second day of riding here, and other than this little touristy area, we've hardly passed a soul. Mongolia is the least densely populated country on the planet. 3.5 million people live here. They're spread over an area 6 times the size of the U.S. state of Colorado, which has about twice as many people. And right now, Mongolia sees about 700,000 tourists a year. For comparison's sake, Colorado sees about 95 million. This is a great time to come see Mongolia.
Bloody camels!
The camels you see out here are Bactrian camels, the double-humped variety. They only actually occur in the wild in this region of Central Asia. Single-humped dromedary camels are the ones you find pretty much everywhere else, anywhere in North Africa, the Middle East, or Central Australia. You could actually see our camp for the night from the top of the White Cliffs. Just a few kilometers left, and this is some of the coolest riding we've done so far. Check this out. Almost feels like you're flying the way the trail swoops over some of these hills. I believe this is the Sagan Suvarga tourist camp, and we are done for the day. So today should be a very, very good day. We're heading down into the Gobi Desert, should actually get to ride in the sand dunes at some point this afternoon, and we're starting the morning with a ride through Ulaanbaatar, or Eagle Valley, and if the pictures I've seen are any guide, it should be a very, very good morning. Priuses seem to be the vehicle of choice here for pretty much everything. Night on the town, camping trip out in the desert, herding your goats, you need a Prius. 80% of the vehicles in Mongolia are used cars from Japan, and about 90% of those appear to be Priuses. So Ulaanbaatar, where we're headed, sits within Girvan National Park, so we need to get checked in, pay a little fee, and then we're on our way. Man, this is just beautiful. Given the flat steppe country we've been riding through for the last few days, it's hard to believe this is the same place. Kind of wondering what direction I should go here. That looks steep. Maybe peer pressure is a thing. Die on me, don't you do it. This is just magic. It's so pretty back here. Reminds me a little bit of the Inland Bay area, actually. Check out those purple flowers. Alright, this must be Eagle Valley that we're coming into. And note the minivan driving up the riverbed. I would not be surprised at all if it were a Prius. Though we haven't seen any of them, and for the record that's not surprising given we're riding a gaggle of incredibly noisy enduro bikes. The area is supposed to be home to ibex, bighorn sheep, and even some snow leopards. And the valley's so narrow in some places that in many years, the bottom of it can be filled with pack ice until late July or even early August. We're here in early August, but it's not feeling like we're going to find any this year. Man, this must have been a tight squeeze for the minivan. Another solid hill.
Whoa.
Remember the first day when we stopped at the Sacred Ovo? The stone cairn that we circled 3 times? Seems like it might be in our best interest not to miss this opportunity either. This is pretty typical for a Mongolian fuel stop. We stopped at some that were way more modern, and others that consisted of little more than an iron drum with a credit card machine hot-wired into a nearby electric line. Seriously. More camels. We've seen some that were obviously hobbled or kept, some that were even wearing halters. These look a little wilder, but who knows? Oh my god, if I never see another washboard or corrugation again, it will be way, way too soon. Corrugations, what do you know? I'm going to give the DRZ a pass on losing a clutch lever after all these washboards. I'm surprised I haven't lost a forearm yet.
We're off to the dunes! How are you going again? What could possibly go wrong? I'm a pussy. Just not. Holy Moses!
Oh my god, this is so draining. No, I think we'll go downhill. Alright, I've done this once before, but I forgot to hit record on the GoPro, and I want a video record of this. We're doing it again. That was fun. Hell of a workout, but definitely something to check off the bucket list. Riding sand dunes in the Gobi Desert. That was cool. Alright folks, so today we start a journey back north. We're as far south as we're going to get on this trip. In fact, at this point we're only about 90 miles from the border with China. And while we're going to do a little bit of zigging and zagging over the next few days, we're pretty consistently going to be headed back north, so that a few days from now we're going to find ourselves only about 60 miles from the border with Siberia, basically just across from Lake Baikal. And my understanding is that the riding's only supposed to get more and more beautiful as we go north. This is the first time in my life I've gotten a pinch flat. In fact, it's the first time in my life I've gotten a flat. Oogie and Dawa are rock stars at this. It literally takes me 2.5 hours to change a tire. It literally takes them 10 minutes. Can you imagine living out here, like how different their lives and day-to-day existence are from ours? It's not just that they've got a little distance to the grocery store or to visit a neighbor. We haven't passed another place in like 2 hours of hard riding. Like, they have to be totally self-sufficient. Hank and Oji have arranged lunches for us at a number of these cool little hole-in-the-wall places that you kind of, I think, have to let them know you're coming in advance. This was just a table. I don't know where the kitchen is. We brought our own drinks, but it was super cool and the food was great. That's about the right amount of tarmac as far as I'm concerned. I think that was about 200 meters. Whoa, check out the birds. I've been kicking up flocks of them like this for like the last 5 minutes. It's been super cool. I will just say that there are some sections of Mongolia where the scenery doesn't change super rapidly. Ooh, city. And we're done with the city. You want big sky country, Montana, eat your heart out. Now this is better. Twisty double track, some sandy washes, I'm all in. And we've arrived, home for the night, Ongi Monastery. Morning. So we're going to start the day with just a quick half-mile jaunt up the road here to Ongi Monastery itself and take a quick tour through it.
The old monastery had like 15 big temples and like many more smaller temples.
The monastery was a pretty amazing stop. It was founded in the 1600s and was one of the largest Buddhist centers in Mongolia. At its peak, there were 28 temples there and more than 1,000 monks. Today, it's just stone ruins. The monastery was destroyed completely in 1939 at the direction of Stalin. More than 200 monks were killed. The survivors were either jailed or forced into the very communist army that had just destroyed their lives and killed their brothers. Okay, I gotta admit, I feel a little bit like an honorary Mongolian here. We're goat herding. Man, it looks like we've ridden off into that Windows 95 screensaver. How is this even real? just had lunch at another one of those places where you kind of have to know the owner to have them open up for you. In this case, it was the Smoke and Step Authentic Barbecue. Really, really good. And as always, more food than we could possibly eat. So, if you're trying to follow along on a map, A, good luck. And B, this is the little town of Kujir. Oh, Ant's always off exploring. In this case, he thought he was jumping a little dirt ridge onto a pile of sand. Turns out it was a mound of dust, the consistency of talcum powder. He sunk the bike to over the wheels. The local workers were kind enough to help him dig it out. I think this is a pretty famous overlook of the Orkhon River. I've seen pictures from this place before. This is a very stereotypical small Mongolian town, especially in the north. The smaller ones all have the same sort of feel to them. Crisscrossing dirt roads, a few water crossings, a herd of horses or cows. In this case, however, it looks like they're actually planning on putting some pavement in. In that sense, I really do feel like this is kind of the time to visit. It still feels a little like the Wild West. It won't always feel that way. I don't even know what this feels like anymore. It's like riding off into some Brothers Grimm fairy tale. May have come into that one a little overzealously. Hink showing off by not being overzealous. Thanks for the contrast, mate.
People taking 3 of us up here.
Very grateful for a trip 3 of us did through Bavianskloof down in South Africa last year for a whole host of reasons. But specifically relevant here, it was great practice at water crossings. These actually seem quite chill by comparison.
That's a solid bit of water.
Jeff's showing everyone how it's done.
I'm through, the bike still runs, I'm going to call that a win. He's actually done a longer distance in the river than any of us. Fucking brilliant.
Always good to know you've got 12 people watching you when you do a water crossing.
All the teenage boys have to come out here and fill water at the end of the day. Ride their motorcycle out in the dark. Last thing they do. After dinner, we replenish all the water.
All right, morning. So, today's kind of a weird one. We're actually only about 70 kilometers as the eagle flies from the hot springs where we're headed to this evening. But, unfortunately, they're on the other side of the mountains behind us, and there's no way to really ride directly there. So instead, we're going to ride back east, out the way we came in last night, then north, west, and even back south a little bit to get to Tsenkher Hot Springs. I think the total loop is going to be something like 3 times the distance we are right now from the hot springs. I love these Enduro bikes. You can pretty much just point the handlebars wherever you want and they're game. I'd say try that in a Prius, but around here somebody would definitely take me up on it and probably show me up to boot. I'm keeping a close eye out for guidelines. You would not want to hit a guideline at 40 miles an hour. So, your fun fact for the day. In Mongolian, red waterfall is actually called Ulaanbaatar, which means the red confluence, as it actually sits at the confluence of the Ulan, the red, and the Orkhon rivers. You might have heard the word Ulan before, as in Ulaanbaatar. Ulaanbaatar actually means red warrior. This is just some of the coolest, prettiest riding imaginable. I don't know whether we're in Iceland, New Zealand, or Mongolia. Again, does it get much more idyllic than this?
That makes me smile.
I'm actually a little surprised at how little we, at least most Americans, are taught about Mongolia in school. At its peak, the Mongolian Empire was the largest contiguous empire that's ever existed. In the Middle Ages, it stretched on the west side from what is present-day Eastern Germany all the way east to the Korean Peninsula, and it extended as far south as Vietnam and almost as far north as what is now the city of Yakutsk, Siberia.
Where here? How is that feasible? How?
This actually looks rideable, and riding looks far less painful than pushing. Again, they are obviously working to change the character of Mongolian transit in some respects. I'm sure that's great for Mongolians, but man, I'll take the sandy, sweeping double tracks through the magical green fields any day. You should go for a ride here before it's too late.
Not a good place to stall. Prius.
Someone was saying that the more successful herders out here can actually do pretty well. One of them, I think, made enough that they had the better part of a dozen rental apartments in Ulaanbaatar as kind of a side hustle. And the apartments there aren't cheap, like a couple $100,000. So I was trying to figure out why we don't spend more time on Mongolia in school, why there's not more of a lasting cultural impression of it worldwide. And the answer may be in how forward-thinking it actually was. They didn't impose their culture or religion on conquered territories. Instead, they integrated them. The Mongolian Empire included Christians, Muslims, Buddhists, and many others, even among the ruling family. When they conquered a new area, they brought back experts to Mongolia and its cities from those new territories. Metalworkers, doctors, astronomers, architects, engineers, bureaucrats, translators, artists, musicians, merchants, they were all brought back to Mongolia. And so Mongolian cities became a diverse blend of people from many different backgrounds, many different cultures, and many different religions, rather than a single uniform religion or culture. And it didn't really last long enough to develop and cement into a cohesive cultural force of its own. It turned out to be highly dependent on the skills and personality of Genghis Khan, and after his death, the empire gradually just disintegrated as the regions controlled by the various branches of his family began to operate independently and then slowly disintegrate. Okay, I'll shut up. Wow, trees. yet another little slice of some fairyland.
That looks like kind of getting. Smells a bit like Colorado too. We made it, Tsenkher Hot Springs. I am looking forward to a long, hot, relaxing dip. Should probably get a shower first, however. All right, about to set off for another day of riding. Rained a good bit last night. All that hard pack that was so nice and smooth and fun to ride. Coming in last night, maybe a little bit more of an adventure this morning going back out. I think we got 30 or 40 k's back out to the tarmac and see.
Okay, this is definitely a little more interesting. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That gives you an idea of just how slippery it actually is. I have no idea what went wrong there. Maybe touched the front brakes or something for an instant. Looked like he was well balanced. I swear no matter how many times that happens, it never grows old. Traditional Mongolian dress, little Chinese bike, that's awesome. In a week of riding, we haven't seen a single agricultural plot of land that I can recall. This is the first field. As we get further and further north, the climate's becoming ever so slightly wetter and more amenable to farming. Screw those little VW bus looking things. I want one of those.
So flipping cool. Definitely not Kansas anymore.
I'm thinking riding at night here could be dangerous. This area kind of has the same feel as the Swartberg Mountains in South Africa, just like 1/5 the size. For the record, this is all substantially steeper than it's going to look on a GoPro.
Out of Bogan. Beautiful little greenhouse. Gas station, Bogan.
It's not really a complete motorcycle trip unless you have to get the rain gear out. The lighting's actually quite beautiful here. Okay, this is Bulgan. After suffering through a night of food poisoning, I actually fell asleep next to my bike in the parking lot of our breakfast stop. They wisely threw me in the sport truck for the rest of the day. Well, this is looking to be a heck of a day to get back on the bike. It's been raining all night, and we've got like 50 kilometers of dirt trail to get out to the tarmac. This is going to be interesting. That said, I am super stoked to be able to ride the bike today. It is actually our last day of riding the trip. We're headed back to Ulaanbaatar today, and it would have really sucked to miss this bit of riding. It's going to be a nice long day though. I think something like 330 kilometers total. And you might have noticed it's raining. I think I'm kind of starting to get a feel for things. Grass is good. Red dirt with rocks isn't bad. Brown mud is slippery. Black mud is like trying to ride your bike on slanted glass that someone's poured thin motor oil over top of. To put it another way, on the red stuff, your tires feel pretty planted. On the brown stuff, you can feel your back tire sliding around underneath you. And on the black stuff, you can feel both tires slipping back and forth under you, totally independent of one another, just doing their own thing.
Oh, slippery. I kept sliding all over the place. Holy hell. Does that got a lift kit on it? Looks like it's riding awfully high for a Prius. Yowzers. Fast. Boy, this looks like riding in Africa. Mongolia has a lot of faces. One of the maybe slightly surprising things about trips like this is that you really can find room for a little solitude. I'm 30 seconds behind the front group and maybe a few minutes ahead of the rear group, and I've got the place to myself.
just wow.
That indeed is lifted Prius. They even slapped a TRD sticker on the back.
Man after my own heart. Screw the tarmac. Riding the green stuff.
A little bit of a break. It may have been too long of a break. That's catching up to us quick.
Ulaanbaatar. Not sure whether to be excited about that or not. Pretty sure not. That said, I could use a shower and a sleep. This little section of town looks very European. Here we are, Novotel Ulaanbaatar, end of the road.